Good evening and welcome to this live audio coverage of this Premier League game from the Vitality Stadium, a packed out Vitality Stadium playing host to AFC Bournemouth, welcoming Manchester City to the South Coast. My name is Jay Cooper and I will be your commentator for the next 2 hours or so to run you through the action from Bournemouth, and we'll begin with the starting 11 and benches for both teams, looking first to the hosting Cherries. Andoni Iraola, in his final home game as Bournemouth manager, makes one change to the team that most recently kept up their impressive unbeaten run in a 1-0 victory against Fulham. A forced change at that. We'll come to it in just a moment. But Georgi Petrovic retains his place in goal, with the same back four from the Fulham match of the captain Adam Smith on the right, Adrian Truffert on the left, and the defensive two of James Hill and Marcos Senesi. The defensive midfielders, Alex Scott and Tyler Adams, replacing the suspended Ryan Christie, with Ryan on the right, Marcus Tavernier on the left, and Junior Krupi through the middle. Evan Nilsson is the lone striker. On the bench, beginning with the goalkeeper, in ascending shirt number order, we have Christos Mandas, Lewis Cook, David Brooks, Ben Gannon-Doak, Bafodé Diakite, Justin Kluivert, Amin Adli, Enes Unal and Alex Toth. For Pep Guardiola's title-chasing citizens, they make two changes to the team that most recently defeated Chelsea at Wembley to win the FA Cup, his 20th trophy, in charge of Manchester City. Gianluigi Donnarumma is brought back in goal to replace James Trafford, with an unchanged back four of Mateus Nunes, Abdulkadir Kuzanov, Mark Gurhey and Nico O'Reilly. Rodri partners Mateo Kovacic, who is in for Omar Mamouche in defensive midfield. Antoine Semenyo on the right, Jeremy Doku on the left, and the captain Bernardo Silva through the middle with the lone striker, the top scorer, Erling Haaland. On the bench, beginning with the goalkeeper, in ascending shirt number order, there is James Trafford, Ruben Diaz, Tijani Reinders, John Stones, Omar Mamouche, Ryan Cherki, Josko Gvardiol, Savinho and Phil Foden. It's judgment day for Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. The rumours have never been so prominent that he is ready to depart from a team that he has been the manager of for the last decade of football. A decade of dominance it has been, but anything apart from maximum points tonight on the South Coast, and Manchester City will not win the Premier League trophy. That will go to Arsenal, who beat Burnley 1-0 last night. A very slender victory at that, but it might just be enough to get them over the line if they can have a favour from the hosting Cherries this evening. Bournemouth need just a point to secure the Europa League for the first time in their history. All they need to do is hold the citizens, and it doesn't matter what happens on the final day. They will be playing host to some of Europe's heaviest hitters in the secondary competition next season. It's the first time in their history that they will play European football, and they will do it in the Europa League. All they need is a point from one of their last two games. Should the score finish in favour of Manchester City this evening, the title race goes to the final day, where they will host Aston Villa, just as they did in 2022. They needed to win then. They're going to need to win again against Villa on that day, should it come to that, as long as they can pick up maximum points tonight. For Bournemouth, Nottingham Forest at the City Ground await. This is their final home game of the season, and if they can't get the job done tonight, they will have to do so on away soil. We are minutes from kick-off on the South Coast. A very tense Vitality Stadium, packed to the brim, with fans who are witnessing the final home game of Andoni Iraola's very impressive reign as Bournemouth manager. Announced that he was leaving Bournemouth at the end of the season a couple of months ago. There is a handful of applause from the home players for the home fans for Antoine Semenyo of Manchester City, who joined the citizens from the Cherries in January. And you have to imagine there'll be one or two tears shed this evening, whether or not that's in the home or the away end, depending on the result, because we know that one of these managers is on their way out the door. All the rumours suggest that this could well be Pep Guardiola's last game on the road as Manchester City manager. He has not confirmed it, nor has the club, but sources that have spoken to major news outlets have all but confirmed he is on his way out, with Enzo Maresca, his former number 2, set to replace him in the dugout, much to the chagrin of the travelling City fans, who are displaying the signs that they want him to stay. This could be their last chance at a 21st trophy and another Premier League title to go with the 6th that he has already won in the City dugout. It will be the away team, Manchester City, who get us kicked off on the south coast this afternoon. Both teams matching each other in formation. City from left to right in their away strip, the mostly grey number with the bright yellow trim. Bournemouth in their traditional red and black striped home shirts with the black shorts and black socks from right to left. And City are wasting no time looking to put together a passing move down the right-hand side. Semenyo attempting the 1-2 with Matheus Nunes. It's not come off for him. The interception is made and the clearance is good enough for now for Bournemouth. It's a throw-in on the right-hand side for Manchester City. Bernardo Silva, the captain, another face set to depart the Etihad Stadium after Sunday's game against Aston Villa. A very trophy-laden career he has held with Manchester City. He wears the armband going into this title run-in. Manchester City are very much still in contention. You can never truly write them off. They proved it in 2012 with the famous Aguero moment. They proved it in 2022 thanks to goals from Ilkay Gundogan on the day against Aston Villa, a comeback victory that was necessary to overcome Liverpool. They'll need to come from behind in terms of the scoreline to overcome Arsenal now, but Evan Nilsson chasing a loose ball for Bournemouth. They're looking to cut City apart with a ball from the halfway line left of centre. It was Tavernier who was looking for the Brazilian, but the defensive work was well done by Mark Guehi, somebody very much in contention to be one of the starting defenders for England at the upcoming World Cup. Evan Nilsson now off the resultant Bournemouth throw, reaches the ball on the edge of the penalty area, can't quite lay it off. But City have had their pocket picked on the edge of the box. It's Krupi who can't quite get it out of his feet before the challenge is made by Kuzanov. And the clearance is made by the Uzbek international away from the feet of a man who has been amongst the goals recently for Bournemouth, scoring in the games that they have played very, very recently against Crystal Palace, Leeds, Arsenal and Manchester United. All games in which Bournemouth have come away with at least a point. Here's Truffet down the left-hand side. 15 games unbeaten in all competitions for the Cherries, 10 for the Citizens. This truly is a battle of two teams who want to leave everything on the pitch during this run-in. It's Marcos Sinisi now who lays it off to Hill, the defender. Switches from the centre out to the left-hand side, looking for the overlapping run of Truffet that goes over the top of everybody and behind for a Manchester City goal kick. Andoni Iraola in the technical area, very much like his opposite number, carved out a career as a hard-hitting, defensive-minded player in the La Liga setup, primarily playing his club football for Athletic Bilbao once he was a player. Now as a manager previously of soon-to-be Europa Conference League finalists Rayo Vallecano, who will go up against Crystal Palace for that trophy in the coming weeks. This is smart from Manchester City now. They've tried to cut Bournemouth right the way down the middle with some one-touch passing. It was Silva and Semenyo, and the back heel didn't quite find Haaland, but here they come again now with Kovacic down the left. He's forced to turn and find Jeremy Doku. About 40 yards from goal. Here is Rodri, still left of centre. Out to the right, and Kuzanov is brought into play. Kuzanov, bit of a heavy touch there from Kovacic, but City maintain possession and edge towards the end of the Bournemouth defensive third. 1-2 on the left-hand side, smartly played between Kuzanov and Kovacic, and the delivery was O'Reilly's from the left-hand side. It was low and it bounced awkwardly. It was dealt with in the end by Tyler Adams, American midfielder brought into the starting 11 as a compulsion for Andoni Iraola, with the red card awarded to Ryan Christie during the Fulham game. Switch from the centre out to the right-hand side now for Manchester City. Here is Matheus Nunes trying to drive towards the corner of the box. Stood up by Truffet. It's brought back to the captain Bernardo Silva. Now here is Semenyo slightly further forward, approaching the edge of the Bournemouth penalty area. Now down the right, he's able to blast his way beyond Truffet. Squares it to Jeremy Doku. It could be the perfect start. It's a good save down to his right-hand side from Georgi Petrovic. Watching it all the way into his gloves there, the Serbian. Very sharp reflexes from the former Chelsea man. Very smart touch inside the penalty area from Jeremy Doku, just to drag the ball away from the sliding challenge of Senesi. City keep on applying the pressure. They've struck first, and Rodri now getting into the penalty area. Semenyo able to just about maintain possession under pressure from Truffet. It's brought under control by Nunes. Bit of a push in the back there from Ryan. And City are forced all the way back to the halfway line now with Kuzanov. Now it's Guehi. First strike of the day then comes from the visitors, who most of the bookies would have favoured in this game. They're never ones to give up a title race, Manchester City, even when they seem like they're out of it. They find themselves able to push right the way back in. Kovacic doing battle with his opposite number in Alex Scott, both men with the number 8 emblazoned on their back, and it's Kovacic who wins out and makes it to the halfway line to lay it off to O'Reilly, and now Rodri able to play it into the right hand side of the field where Khuzanov is waiting. Happy to leave the ball to Bernardo Silva, who can travel with it a little further forward now down the right. Nunez into the feet of Semenyo, who tries to barge his way beyond Truffert, and it's Tavernier who tries to get in the way. And in separating Semenyo from the ball, he's been bundled down by his former teammate. Referee in charge of this game, whose name it just now occurs to me I'm yet to mention, Anthony Taylor. Quick on his whistle for that occasion. Free kick awarded to Bournemouth inside of their own penalty area. He's accompanied on the VAR by Jared Gillett. It's worth mentioning this afternoon. With any luck, VAR will not be a factor in this game, but you just never know with modern football. Approaching the 6th minute of the game at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0. If it stays this way, Arsenal are champions, but we have a long way to go. Here's Marcus Tavernier on the left for Bournemouth. Ryan doing his best not to show too much of the ball to the City players around him. Looks to thread it down the line for the run of Truffert. Interception is well made by Khuzanov, getting across to make the sliding challenge, but he concedes a throw in the process. A nominee for Manchester City's Player of the Season is Abdulkadir Khuzanov. He and Jeremy Doku and Nico O'Reilly all up for that award. Throw in to come now for Bournemouth on the left-hand side, and it'll be a long one. Or at least it looks like it will be from Hill, and it is. It's very deep indeed, and Erling Haaland getting back and doing his defensive duties. He's able to send a very, very commanding header out of the Manchester City danger area. Hill is the one that recovers possession for Bournemouth, lays it back off to Petrovic 30 yards from his own goal, and it's lifted down the left-hand side again for Truffert. Interception made by Nunez. Throw in for Bournemouth, halfway inside the Manchester City half on the left. Here is Truffert again from the throw. Into the feet of Tavernier, now it's Adams. Further and further back go Bournemouth now. Every single Manchester City player behind the ball as it's brought under control by James Hill. And the captain, the veteran Adam Smith on the right-hand side, attempting to fire it down the flank. Running into traffic, and the ball bounces out for a throw right in front of the dugouts where Andoni Iraola is already standing. Pep Guardiola maintaining a seated position for now. Here is the Bournemouth defender Senesi. Now it's Truffert on the left-hand side. I think he's had more of the ball than anybody in the opening 7 minutes, and as he tries to barge his way beyond Mateus Nunez, he's had the ball taken away from him by the Portuguese international, and it goes away for a Bournemouth throw about 15, 20 yards back from the halfway line on the left. Here is Krupi. Back to Hill, a little bit of an awkward pass into his own penalty area to his goalkeeper Georgi Petrovic. Bournemouth seem content to keep the ball inside their own half. Into the midfield area now, where some quick feet from Alex Scott just allows for a little bit of space. Krupi with a smart back heel into Truffert, in plenty of space on the left-hand side of the halfway line. Forward it goes now for Bournemouth. Tavernier, left of centre, into the middle, and it's played out to the left by Evan Nielsen. It's going to be recovered by Truffert just before it goes into touch, and the delivery is a deep one, right over the top of everybody. Scott was arriving, it's over the top of him, and Tyler Adams is forced to recover this ball for Bournemouth. Backwards to the halfway line. Here is James Hill. Now it's Senesi doing his best not to hold on to it too long. Bernardo Silva lurking close by. Krupi forward from the edge of the centre circle. Evan Nilsson holds it up, and it's laid off by Ryan to Smith, whose delivery is teasing along the floor, and the recovery was Bernardo Silva's. Manchester City have it back and play it out of danger via O'Reilly. Here goes Doku down the left over the halfway line now, battling away with Tyler Adams, able to maintain possession and find Rodri in the centre. Across to the right for Bernardo Silva. Silva with an overlap from Nunez if he fancies. Takes his time. It's a nonchalant jog towards the edge of the Bournemouth defensive third. Nunez on the very far right now. Pulls it back to Rodri. And Bournemouth's shape just seems to be stopping Manchester City finding a way through. Do very well to hold off Manchester City for 90 minutes. We're going into the 10th of this game. It remains goalless. It was Kai Havertz who got the goal yesterday evening for Arsenal against Burnley. in a game that they had to win to keep the pressure on Manchester City as their closest challengers for the title. They just about did the job. 5 points in it, 2 games to go for City, 1 for Arsenal. A win for City this evening means that on the final day it will be Arsenal's game against Crystal Palace and City's against Aston Villa, where most eyes will be on. But the title could be decided tonight. Anything apart from a Manchester City win, we'll see the ribbons on the Premier League trophy be coloured red. North London red for the first time in 22 years. Here is Bernardo Silva deep inside of his own half for Manchester City. Every single Bournemouth player currently behind the ball. Kuzanov. Rodri, edge of the centre circle, under a bit of pressure, but he might be the last man on the pitch that would care about that. It's been able to be threaded out to the right towards Bernardo Silva, who trades passes with Nunez. Now here is O'Reilly, who's drifted into the defensive midfield area of the pitch on the right. According to the team sheet, he's a left back, but he's made a very prominent name for himself in this Manchester City starting 11 as a player that can play in pretty much any defensive position, and as well as in the majority of midfield, and he's proven himself quite a dab hand in front of goal as well, scoring twice in the League Cup final as Manchester City beat Arsenal at Wembley on that day. Scored 5 in the league this season. That makes him City's joint 3rd highest goal scorer in the Premier League alongside Doku, only eclipsed by Erling Haaland and Phil Foden, who's on the bench this afternoon. Haaland with a whopping 26, Foden with 7. In the midfield area now, Manchester City have it again. It's into the feet of Erling Haaland, who turns on the halfway line, slips it in behind to Antoine Semenyo, and he rolls it in. Is the flag up? Antoine Semenyo knows the flag is up. Well, perhaps that's an indication of just how easily it can happen. Erling Haaland turning on the edge of the centre circle and driving, and Semenyo just about caught by the offside trap of his former teammates. His run is a shade too early, and there are a good amount of hands up for Bournemouth, for their retreating defenders there, as Semenyo broke through into the penalty area, slotted it beyond Petrovic, but the assistant on the far side raising the flag very quickly. Anthony Taylor just getting a word in his ear on confirmation that that opportunity was indeed offside. And the game will resume with a Bournemouth free kick, which is going to be taken now by Marcos Senesi. Bit of a miscued clearance up the field that's just about kept under Bournemouth's control by Krupi. And a heavy touch from Ryan on the right-hand side very nearly concedes possession to Kovacic. Bournemouth able to just about hold on. It's Hill with a hopeful ball down the right, looking for the run of Evan Nielsen, very easily cut out by Mark Guehi. Guehi into the feet of Rodri, City escaping their defensive third. Rodri out to the left, here goes Doku. Toe-to-toe with Adam Smith. Alex Scott arriving for cover. Doku will be more than happy to challenge both men to try and drive forward. He instead lays it off to Rodri, who switches from left to right. Here is Semenyo on the flank, drifting inside, but forced a little further backwards than he might have liked by Truffert. He brings Kovacic into play on the left, further out to the wing now for Nico O'Reilly. Here is Kovacic again. Rodri now, corner of the box, into the box for Semenyo, who's kept his presence forward. It's Kovacic, it's Kuzanov, 25 yards, thinks about it, and it's a wayward strike in the end from the Uzbek international. It seemed to swerve and dip all over the place. Georgi Petrovic was none the wiser as to where that was going, but he knew full well it wasn't nestling into his top corner. High and wide in the end from the City number 45, and an opportunity for an unimpeded clearance now for the Cherries. 14 minutes on the clock at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0. If you were to look at an active Premier League table, including the current running results, then you would see a big golden C next to Arsenal. And you would also see that Bournemouth are uncatchable inside the Europa League places, and they have an opportunity to try and drive now down the left. It was Tavernier who was brought under serious pressure by Guehi. A good sliding challenge. A brilliant dummy it was from Krupi that just allowed Tavernier to get an opportunity to drive deep into the City half. Guehi on the recovery from left to right, so quick to slide in and challenge Tavernier. It's into the penalty area though. Bournemouth have kept it going, and it's skied from 6 yards. Evan Nilsson's missed a sitter. How did that not go in? What brilliant one-touch football that was from Bournemouth on the left-hand side. Tavernier to Truffert, into Krupi, back to Tavernier, who continued his run into the left-hand side of the penalty area, completely unmarked. It's square for Evan Nilsson. There'll be a question of offside, but it didn't matter in the end. It seems to hit the Brazilian on the heel and lifts over the top of Donnarumma's goal. That should have been food and drink for a Premier League number 9. Evan Nilsson amazed that he's not put Bournemouth 1-0 up in this game, but City's clearance leaves something to be desired. Tyler Adams tries to feed it back into the penalty area. I think the attempted clearance in the end from Kuzanov struck the arm of Krupi. And it's going to be a City free kick on the edge of their own penalty area. They're going to be more than content to play this out with a few short passes along the ground. It's Nunez back to Silva. On the edge of Manchester City's defensive third here, Bernardo Silva. Not the only Manchester City player that has confirmed his departure from the Etihad is to come at the end of this season. John Stones on the bench this evening. This is his last away day in a Manchester City shirt. Whether or not he gets any minutes will be subject to the supposedly outgoing boss in Pep Guardiola, who's still yet to confirm his own departure. But all signs point to the appointment of Enzo Maresca at the Etihad to inherit the crown that will be vacated by a man who will be forever considered as one of the greatest managers of all time for everything he's accomplished with Manchester City. 20 trophies, 6 Premier Leagues, and there's still the opportunity to make it 7 as we close out the 2025-26 campaign. Also the man who finally was able to deliver the Champions League trophy to the Etihad. Also the man who coached Mikel Arteta in the early days of his managerial career. Arteta was the assistant to Guardiola for a number of years before being given the reins at Arsenal. And in 7 years that have seen Arsenal win 2 FA Cups, they are yet to get their hands on the Premier League trophy. This could well be the time. Rodri on the halfway line for Manchester City, right of centre. Here's Nico O'Reilly. Now it's Kuzanov, waits for the pressure of Evan Nilsson, still on the halfway line, Manchester City. Now they try and play it forward with Bernardo Silva on the right, but he runs into traffic in the form of Truffert. Here is Kuzanov in the defensive third for Manchester City, right in the centre of the City half, and he switches it from where he was standing out to the left-hand side. Doku was on the run, but Adam Smith was on the recovery, and he heads it back to Georgi Petrovic. He's a player that's seen everything at Bournemouth. Part of the squad that was promoted all the way back in 2015 when they first made an appearance in the Premier League. Still there now with the captain's armband. Here is Bernardo Silva drifting in from the right-hand side. Thought about the left-footed strike. It would have been an ambitious attempt at goal. Instead he turns and finds Semenyo in a crossing position, who does his best to drive away from Truffert, and he does just about enough to hold on to possession for City, but they are forced slightly further backwards. Alex Scott barges over Bernardo Silva, and Bournemouth win it back cleanly according to the referee Anthony Taylor, and here comes the counter on the halfway line. It's Krupi. Here goes Tavernier down the left-hand side, able to reach the ball, not able to bring it under his control in the manner that he would have liked. 2 City players circling in Rodri and Nunez. Here is Krupi. Bournemouth doing their best to keep it in the City half of the field for now. I think that pass to Krupi, well, it looked for a moment like play was going to slow down there for some sort of decision from the referee, potentially an offside, but no, the game continues and Bournemouth switch from left to right. Here is Ryan Smith on the overlap. Here he is. Thought about the delivery, instead laid it back off to the Brazilian. Now on the edge of the centre circle, Bournemouth maintain possession with Senesi. Now it's Adams. Now here is Truffert on the left. Back to Senesi. Across the defensive line on the halfway line. That's where Bournemouth find themselves now with James Hill, and it's going to be played all the way back to Georgi Petrovic now by Adam Smith. And with that we reach minute 20 on the clock. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0 it remains. Bournemouth will be the happier of the two teams with a 0-0 draw. Here is Truffert down the left-hand side, looking to just turn on the afterburners a little bit of space to drive into as he makes his way further and further up the field into the attacking third, but all of a sudden finds himself surrounded by City shirts. Brings in Krupi on the left. It's Senesi now a little further back. Bournemouth keep the attack going. Senesi trying to roll the ball onto the edge of the penalty area where there are a handful of red and black shirts, but Manchester City win it back and have the opportunity to counter now. Lifted over the top for the run of Haaland, who was trying his best to get in behind the entire Bournemouth defence, but the pass was wayward, forced him out wide, and bodies back for Bournemouth, forward for Manchester City. Here is Guehi. Now it's Bernardo Silva to Kuzanov on the right-hand side of the centre circle. He's got Nunez out to the right-hand side if he wants it. He turns and finds Rodri instead. Trades passes with Bernardo Silva, Kuzanov again. And now here is Nunez. A little bit less room than he was just a moment ago. Closed down quickly by Truffert, and now it's Kuzanov again. Manchester City content at this stage to keep it to themselves. They know they don't need a goal just yet. They're going to need one in the next 70 minutes though. Plenty of time. Kuzanov to Bernardo Silva. Now Kovacic. A little bit of a wayward touch under a bit of pressure from Tyler Adams, and Alex Scott picks up possession for Bournemouth, feeds it out to the right-hand side where Rayan is going to get there before it goes into touch. Smith on the overlap, looks for the first-time delivery, stood up by Guehi. Bournemouth corner, first of the evening. Won by Adam Smith. Smart build-up play from Bournemouth there. Kovacic caught in possession on the halfway line. Scott with a very clever pass out to the right-hand side. Spotted Rayan moving into space. And Smith knew his job was to overlap and potentially cause problems for the title challengers. Coming over to take the corner in no real hurry is Marcus Tavernier. To the shouts and claps and the applause of the Bournemouth fans sitting right behind him in that far corner of the Vitality Stadium from the commentary position. Bodies in the box now wearing both colours of these two teams. Let's see what Tavernier has up his sleeve. Left-footed in-swinging delivery. It's Tavernier's cross. It's a very deep one. It's over the top of everybody. Krupi was the target. The header away is O'Reilly's. It's recovered by Truffert, who lifts it into the penalty area again. Scott was lurking. Another header away for Manchester City. Bournemouth bring it down on the centre circle. Alex Scott very nearly shows too much of the ball to Erling Haaland. Out towards the left for Bournemouth, where there's a bit too much on the pass from Senesi to Truffert. Throwing for Manchester City on the right-hand side. Well, a draw for Bournemouth is much more beneficial for them. That will certify their place in the Europa League for the 2025-26 campaign. They are guaranteed European football at this stage of the season, but it might not be that they play in Europe's tertiary competition and have the opportunity to finish very much inside of the Europa League places. It's difficult to get one's head around the European allocations for the English teams this season, but given that Crystal Palace and Aston Villa currently find themselves in European finals, and Arsenal, let's not forget, it may well be that some Champions League opportunities are passed down to the teams in 5th and 6th in the Premier League table, and Bournemouth still very much in contention to be one of those teams. Fans of this club that experienced their near extinction 20 years ago would have never dreamed of the Champions League anthem ringing out at the Vitality Stadium, and yet 2 more positive results at the end of the season to add to their 15-game unbeaten run may well make that a reality. Silva with a delivery from the left. Here is Haaland on the edge of the Bournemouth penalty area, has his pocket picked by Alex Scott, who attempts to thread it forward for Evan Nilsson, who's battling away with Guehi, and he managed to just about get in front of the Englishman before he reached the ball, and the two men colliding with one another. Apparently the referee sees in favour of Guehi, but Evan Nilsson was a little bit too rough with the retreating City defender. Very much 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, but Guehi is winning the foot race right up until the ball is reached, and then all of a sudden he appears to have been dragged back. There's a few complaints that Evan Nilsson can have, apart from the fact that there were 1 or 2 swipes at him as he was driving to try and put the pressure on the City number 15. Marc Guehi, a goal scorer against Chelsea in the Premier League not all that long ago in a 3-0 victory. 8 matches ago that was in all competitions. 6 in the Premier League, not including of course the FA Cup semi-final against Southampton and the final against Chelsea. Antoine Semenyo with a beautiful back heel sealing the FA Cup trophy for Manchester City this season in the all-important game at Wembley. Speaking of games for Southampton at Wembley, for anybody who's read the headlines this evening, They've been kicked out of the Championship playoff final for the Spygate controversy that has surrounded their semi-final match against Middlesbrough, and as a result of that, Borough have been reinstated against Hull in a match that will take place this Saturday to determine the third team that will join Coventry and Ipswich in promotion from the Premier League. Excuse me, promotion to the Premier League. Two teams that will host and go away to both Bournemouth and Manchester City in the 2026-27 campaign. Will Manchester City be the home of the champions when that comes around? We have tonight and Sunday to find that out. Here come Bournemouth down the right-hand side. It's Smith, switches from right to left as he reaches the halfway line, and the chase was on for Krupi, but coming out to command his penalty area there was Gianluigi Donnarumma. Grabs the ball with both hands, rolls it out to his defensive midfielder in Rodri. And that takes us well over the 25-minute mark of this game. Quarter of an hour in. No, excuse me. Quarter of the way to 100. My maths appears to be failing me this evening amidst the tension at the Vitality Stadium. The game remains goalless, which means Bournemouth are heading for at least the Europa League this season, and Arsenal, as it stands, have both hands on the Premier League trophy. Here is Khuzanov, furthest man back from Manchester City, able to thread a ball right through the Bournemouth midfield into the feet of Silva, who lays it off. Here goes Haaland, now left of centre, further out to the flank for Doku, crossing position now for City. Doku with a delivery that hits the side netting, teasing from the Belgian. He's been so deadly in recent weeks, Jeremy Doku. Twice scoring against Everton in a game that everybody expected Manchester City to win 2 matches ago. A game that finished 3-3 and means that this game could well be the one that decides the title. Doku with a delivery from the left that deflected away off Marcos Senesi. And for the first time this evening, Manchester City have a corner. Bernardo Silva standing over the top of it. And he's complaining about the presence of Ryan, who is about 10 yards removed from the corner flag now, trying his best to cause a distraction on the Portuguese. It'll be an out-swinging delivery from Bernardo Silva. And it goes from the skipper. It's headed down by Rodri. It's not conclusively dealt with. There's a real scramble in the penalty area. Haaland has blasted it against something. I'm not sure if it was a player or the post. But whatever the case, the ball is launched away from the Bournemouth danger area out to the left-hand side. A real go-mouth scramble, and Haaland just took the wind out of the sails of Marcos Senesi, who got in the way. The result is a second corner, which is helped away in the end by Krupi. Brought down on the 30-yard line or so, very smartly by O'Reilly. Delivery back in now from Bernardo Silva. He is the target. He stayed forward, but he's got a bit too over-aggressive there on his marker. Adam Smith tumbling to the ground under pressure from his opposite number. And the referee finds in favour of Bournemouth. Free kick from the edge of the 6-yard area. They've dealt with the pressure for now. Andoni Iraola, the more animated of the two managers at this stage of the game. In fact, I'm not entirely sure that he's sat down ever since Anthony Taylor blew the starting whistle of this match. As for Pep Guardiola, I'm not entirely sure that he's stood up. Well, the next action of the game will be a Bournemouth free kick from the edge of their own 6-yard area. Taken long by Georgi Petrovic down the right-hand side, looking for the run of Ryan. City able to do enough to bring the ball back under their command. Khuzanov doing his best not to show too much of it to Krupi in a potentially compromising position. Here is Nunez. Back to Bernardo Silva, who goes into his own penalty area before making the long clearance. Haaland is the target, and Doku might get in behind here. Brilliant recovery run. James Hill, that's fantastic defending. Did ever so well to reach it before Doku did. Coming in from the left-hand side there was the Belgian. We all know how much pace to burn Jeremy Doku has. James Hill with one thought in mind, knowing that he was in a foot race for the ball, and that was get there first and get it away, and he managed to do just about enough of it. Conceding a throw though in the Bournemouth the Bournemouth defensive third. Khuzanov, body's getting forward for Manchester City. Khuzanov might be thinking about the strike. He's been able to make his way to 25 yards from goal, right of centre. Khuzanov gets it back now slightly further back after a couple of one-touch passes for Manchester City, looking for Haaland lurking on the edge of the box with his back to goal. Can't find him. Bournemouth get it away temporarily. Yeah, he recovers it for City on the left, still inside the Bournemouth half of the pitch. Now Kuzanov gets it from Rodri, and it's Silva who takes over. Kovacic. Now to Nunez on the right, back to Bernardo Silva. That's 30 minutes, half an hour played at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0. If it stays this way, Arsenal are champions. Bournemouth are in at least the Europa League next season. Attempted ball from the right of centre to the left-hand side of the attacking third of the field for Manchester City, intercepted by Rayan, who heads it all the way back to Petrovic in goal. And Senesi will dribble it to the edge of the defensive third for Bournemouth before lifting it over for the run of Truffert, who was in space until he wasn't. Goes down by a combination of Doku and Nunez, and Bournemouth are able to maintain possession, but they are forced backwards into their own half, and it's Smith who in the end turns and returns the ball to Georgi Petrovic. Now here is James Hill on the corner of his own penalty area. Now Senesi along the floor, over the halfway line and right into the feet of Kuzanov. Now it's Nunez into the feet of Semenyo, and he can drive forward. Haaland turning onto his left foot, but the ball behind him that forced him to readjust his run just had a bit too much on it, and he was unable to reach it before James Hill. Bournemouth play it back to their goalkeeper Petrovic, and now out to the right with Rayan, who stopped before he reaches the halfway line. Turns and brings in the defender Senesi. And now down the left, Bournemouth will try again. Truffert takes a heavy touch to try and get around Nunez, but Kuzanov on the recovery able to find Silva. Nunez determined to maintain possession now under pressure from the Frenchman. Able to feed it into the centre circle for Bernardo Silva, who holds off Tyler Adams and finds Jeremy Doku on the left. Here goes Doku, stood up by a combination of Scott and Smith, and Rodri's now brought into play. Semenyo goes for it from range, and it deflects very kindly indeed into the arms of Georgi Petrovic. Bournemouth are going to waste no time in playing the ball out of their danger area, out of their defensive third. Krupi back to goal inside of his own half, forced to pass it to James Hill, the defender, but now it's out on the right with Adam Smith, who can drive forward, and he continues his run. Ryan with a pass backwards brings Alex Scott into the fray. Senesi on the halfway line for Bournemouth. Every Manchester City player back behind the ball. Senesi with a launching ball forward. Evan Nilsson's flick on. It's going to be chased by Ryan, but it's going to be gotten to first by Guerhi, who is clattered into from the right hand side by the Brazilian. And the assistant referee, standing right over the top of that coming together, finds in favour of Mark Guerhi. Free kick awarded Manchester City's way. And for the first time this evening, Pep Guardiola rises from his seat. A third of the way into this game, over a third of the way into this game, not including any added time. You wonder if he's starting to sweat just yet. Antoine Semenyo driving down the right hand side now. Plenty of pace to burn on the Ghanaian international, but he runs out of play here, ran out of room. That's very uncharacteristic of Semenyo. He's enjoying a fine purple patch of form at the minute, but under significantly less pressure than you would expect from Truffert there. He just dribbles it out of play. Smith from Petrovic. Now he plays it to Evan Nilsson, who holds it up on the halfway line, brings Tyler Adams into play on the edge of the centre circle, still inside the Bournemouth half. It's Truffert on the left. And now it goes into Manchester City territory. Tavernier. Krupi with a turn. Adams returns it to Krupi, who switches it from left to right, and it also goes backwards to James Hill. He's forced to retreat to get to the ball. He can send it forward back where it came from. Evan Nilsson is the target. Guerhi doing what he can to marshal the Brazilian away from the ball. Now Doku back to goal, battling away with Adam Smith, trying to turn and break away from the Englishman, but the referee seeing something wrong with Adam Smith's intervention there, sticking a leg out on Jeremy Doku. Free kick awarded Manchester City's way, about 10 yards back from the halfway line left of the pitch from a City perspective, and Anthony Taylor's just having a quick word with some of the Bournemouth technical staff and a couple of the players sitting on the bench. I think one or two objections to that free kick being awarded right under the nose of the fourth official. Craig Pawson might have got a few unpleasant words in his ear there. Andoni Iraola just given a bit of a talking to there by Anthony Taylor, as was a member of his coaching team. Well, the game resumes now with the City free kick, and they've wasted no time in trying to play it forward. It was O'Reilly who tried to take it under his control, left of centre in the attacking third. But he has his pocket picked, and as the ball deflects away for a throw-in, Anthony Taylor points in favour of Bournemouth, much to the chagrin of Nico O'Reilly. Throwing to come for the Cherries, to be taken by the captain Adam Smith. And a first-time clearance with a few prisoners taken for Bournemouth by Alex Scott. Allows Krupi to bring down possession with Rodri at his back. And it's Ryan who tries to feed it back to Krupi, but only finds Mark Guehi. City trying to come forward. Haaland inside of his own half, not the kind of area we're used to seeing Erling Haaland occupy. There's Kuzanov and now Nunez. Less than 10 minutes of normal time to play at the end of this first half, and it's been a cagey affair so far at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 0, Manchester City 0. Tyler Adams just judged to have been a bit too heavy on Rodri there, as both men went for the same ball. Kuzanov trying to lay it off to the Spaniard. Anthony Taylor well aware of his surroundings, awarding a free kick Manchester City's way. Here is Bernardo Silva. Now Semenyo, who's got Haaland running ahead of him, and Haaland might try and run in behind. James Hill trying to get there first, and he's dragged back by the Norwegian. Referee awards a free kick Bournemouth's way. Erling Haaland so familiar with using his big, imposing, powerful frame just to barge his way past defenders, and he tried to do the same there to James Hill, but he did it with both hands, and Anthony Taylor spotted it. No cards dished out as of yet to any of these players on the pitch. Oh, excuse me, I stand corrected. Now Anthony Taylor brandishes the yellow, and it will go in the direction of the Manchester City number 9. Way to show me up, Mr. Taylor. Or in fact, has the yellow card been awarded to Tyler Adams there? It's unclear which direction that yellow card's been awarded. It has been awarded to Tyler Adams, and I think that's for dissent, because Adams wasn't involved in that collision between Hill and Haaland. But having a word with the man in charge of this game, he's been able to have his name taken there just by saying the wrong things in the direction of the referee. Well, he was brought into the starting 11 for Bournemouth for this game because Ryan Christie was red carded against Fulham. He's going to be walking on eggshells now for the remaining 53 minutes, just under, of normal time that this game has to offer. Smith wins a defensive header now deep inside the Bournemouth half to try and stop Doku latching onto a loose ball, and here is Senesi, who can drive away from the edge of his penalty area into the midfield, where it's brought under control well by Alex Scott. Out to the left with Truffert. There's an overlap from Tavernier. He decides against trying to find it and keeps the ball for Bournemouth with Senesi on the halfway line. Now here is the yellow carded Tyler Adams. Alex Scott back to James Hill. Scott, a Guernsey native. The Bournemouth set-up since arriving from Bristol City in the Championship. Also a player who's staking his claim to Thomas Tuchel that he should be part of the England 2026 World Cup squad. An impressive season that he and Bournemouth as a whole have had. It'd be hard for Thomas Tuchel to completely ignore everybody wearing red and black this evening who fancies their chances in the England national team. Now here come Bournemouth down the left-hand side. That's a promising ball from Adams. Truffert with a first-time pass across the edge of the penalty area. Krupi! Bournemouth lead at the Vitality. That's a massive goal. And who else but Junior Krupi, the man who inherited Antoine Semenyo's crown as Bournemouth's top scorer in the league this season when Semenyo left for City in January. That's 13 for the season for the Frenchman. And Pep Guardiola on the touchline with eyes as big as flying saucers. It's a very smart finish from the Bournemouth number 22. And that is a dagger blow to Manchester City's title hopes in 2025-26. It's a really well-crafted move from Bournemouth. Truffert with a virtually unmarked run down the left-hand side. Chased all the way by Nunez, but the pullback is superb to Krupi on the edge of the penalty area. He takes one touch to compose himself, and he wraps his right foot around it, sends it swerving into the top corner. Donnarumma rooted to the spot. He could do nothing about it. Nestles beautifully in to the side netting. And it's a celebration for Bournemouth, and it's a massive celebration for Arsenal. Manchester City with a mountain to climb. 50 minutes of normal time of this game to climb it in. We've seen them pull off miracles before. They might need just one more here. Oh, here come Bournemouth again, right off the kickoff. Krupi's in again. And the challenge is made by Guehi right at the last minute. What on earth happened there? A Manchester City kickoff very nearly led to a second Bournemouth goal. Well, now Guehi's down in a heap after that collision with Krupi. It's all kicked off at the Vitality Stadium. Right from the kickoff, it was Rodri, and then a fairly weak pass from Kuzanov. Krupi was offside as he was threaded in behind by Evan Nilsson. Guehi's challenge in the end wouldn't have been necessary, but it was one that he felt he had to make just in case. Played to the whistle, that's what you're taught. In the process of sticking a foot out and stopping the attack, he's gone down in some discomfort. He's back on his feet now, gingerly making his way away from the scene of the incident. And City very desperately need to regroup now. It doesn't take them long to do that. We've seen it before. But if they want to win the Premier League for the for the fifth time in 6 years, then they are going to have to regroup very, very soon. Bournemouth has some defensive work to do now. Truffert with the header away. He's the man who got the assist for that Krupi goal. He's a man no stranger to bagging assists for Bournemouth this season. Also a goal scorer himself versus Newcastle recently. Krupi against Palace, against Leeds, against Arsenal, against Man United. That's all in Bournemouth's last 8 games, and now against Manchester City in what might be the most important goal of all. Takes Bournemouth to within a point of Liverpool going into the final day of the season. The Champions League is still very much a possibility for the Cherries at this stage. As of right now, they are guaranteed at least Europa League football, and Arsenal will be champions. 3 minutes of normal time to play at the end of this first half. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 0. Junior Krupi's goal is the difference. Throw-in awarded on the right-hand side now for Bournemouth. Well won by Ryan. After Nico O'Reilly did his best to try and pinch back possession and utilise what little space he was afforded on the left there. Running out of room. Manchester City running out of time in this first half. Bournemouth get it back over the halfway line now. It's headed on by Tyler Adams. Ryan not a willing runner on that occasion down the right. On to come for City halfway inside of their own half. Nico O'Reilly in a rush to take it. Gets the return from Kovacic. The ball collides out for a throw-in right in front of both sets of managers for Manchester City. Nico O'Reilly to take the throw again. Plenty of officials for both of these two teams stood up as the ball approaches them. This time the throw-in's awarded Bournemouth's way as the ball was played into Jeremy Doku's feet. Pep Guardiola all of a sudden has gone from 0 to 100 on the touchline. The arm gestures and the shouting are very much coming to the front at the Vitality Stadium. Free kick awarded for Bournemouth on the right-hand side now. It was Evan Nilsson who was bundled into by Guehi as he brought down the Bournemouth throw. Perhaps this is an opportunity again for Bournemouth to get it forward. Bournemouth fans in the stadium chanting about potentially playing in the Champions League next season. I have to imagine there'll be a good handful of Arsenal fans in North London chanting about winning the Premier League trophy. They're not there yet, there's still a long way to go, and that's a poor pass by Senesi. On the edge of the attacking third for City, it's Haaland into the feet of Semenyo on the right. Semenyo feeds it into the penalty area where he would hope to find Erling Haaland, but he was still recovering from getting the ball back about 10 yards further behind than where Semenyo was. Petrovic says thank you very much. Food and drink for the Serbian. As we gallop towards the 45th minute of this game. It's Ryan who plays it forward, looking for Evan Nilsson on the halfway line. He makes sure that he doesn't get there. Kuzanov mops up for Manchester City. Here he is again now, the Uzbek defender. Forward from Gerhi, intercepted by Hill. Kept alive for Bournemouth by Scott. Now all eyes turn to Craig Pawson on the touchline. How many minutes at the end of this first half? Away it goes from Petrovic. It's attempted to be brought down by Evan Nilsson. 2 additional minutes at the Vitality Stadium until half-time. And then Manchester City will have 45 minutes plus to save their Premier League title hopes. Here is Jeremy Doku driving down the left. Can they find something before the whistle? Doku able to lay it off. Silva lifts it into the penalty area. Haaland was waiting, but so was Senesi. Clearance made for Bournemouth right to the halfway line. Kuzanov recovers. He's down now after a collision with Evan Nilsson, and the referee's just going to hold up play here. That happened completely off the ball. Right on the edge of the centre circle inside the Bournemouth half. Mark Gerhi and Evan Nilsson have been at each other's throats from minute 1 in this game. Just now both men chasing down the same ball, and it's hard to argue against Mark Gerhi here because Evan Nilsson seems to wrap both arms around the Englishman and then land on top of him. This one that seems to just take the wind out of the sails of the City number 15. Game will resume now with a Manchester City drop ball, which will allow Nunez to drive forward down the right-hand side. He's been able to make it 40 yards before a challenge is made by Truffert, and it's a heavy touch by Semenyo that concedes possession. Now here come Bournemouth. Krupi into the feet of Tavernier down the left-hand side. Can Bournemouth find something in the closing stages of this first half? Tavernier with the ball from left to right, intercepted by Gerhi, who couldn't keep it under his control. Throw in for Bournemouth, level with the edge of the City penalty area. Guardiola's returned to his seat now. Wonder what's going through his mind at this stage of this very important game. What might well be his last away game in charge of Manchester City if what major news outlets are telling you are true. The club and the man himself are still yet to confirm it, and if you want my personal opinion, I'd say believe it when you see it from the man himself. But as of now, all signs point to this being his final away day as City coach. Long throw then from Smith. Up goes Donnarumma, and he gets it with both hands. And as he attempts to get to the edge of the penalty area before he can even release the ball, the referee, Anthony Taylor, blows for half-time. Well, it's a half of football that has been cagey and has been gritty from both sides, who desperately need as many points as they can manage in the closing stages of this season. Manchester City to keep their title hopes alive. Bournemouth to keep their hopes of making the Champions League intact. And as of right now, fortune has fallen in favour of the host. Junior Krupi, 5 minutes from time at the end of this first half, bending a beautiful strike into Donnarumma's top corner. That is the difference between these two teams as they make their way down the tunnel. Half-time at the Vitality Stadium. As of right now, Bournemouth are a point behind the top 5, and Arsenal are champions. It's Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 0. Tune in 15 minutes or so for the second half of this live audio coverage. to this live audio coverage of this very, very important Premier League game from the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 0 is the scoreline as you rejoin us on the South Coast for the second half of the action. My name's Jay Cooper and I'll be your commentator for the next 45 minutes or so. Of 45 minutes that might determine the destination of the Premier League title with absolute certainty. As it stands, based on the result here and the victory last night that they managed at the Emirates, Arsenal are champions. Manchester City with a mountain to climb and 45 minutes to climb it in. We've been there before, haven't we? It's Bournemouth who will get us kicked off for this second half with the man who scored the opening goal of this game 5 minutes from time at the end of the first half in Junior Krupi. And Bournemouth, with Champions League on the mind, have nothing to lose going into the final 45 minutes of their last home game of the season, their last home game headed up by manager Andoni Iraola. It might well be the last away game headed up for Manchester City by Pep Guardiola, who has wasted no time getting out of his chair at the start of this second half and screaming at some of his players. As Manchester City win a throw on the left-hand side, right in the Bournemouth half of the pitch, right on the halfway line, that is, just a fraction in front, and it's O'Reilly whose throw forward has been intercepted and cleared for the Cherries. And Manchester City have the ball back now in their defensive third. It's on the right-hand side with Silva. Good turn by Semenyo on the halfway line to escape the presence of two players in red and black around him. Haaland to the edge of the penalty area, looks to slip it in behind O'Reilly. Great save at point blank by Petrovic. Kept alive for City by Semenyo, who can't find Doku, and Bournemouth scramble it clear. That would have been the perfect start for Manchester City to this second half. Nico O'Reilly, 5 goals in the league this season, denied at close range by Georgi Petrovic. Strong right hand down to his right-hand side. Bournemouth can't get it clear, though. Corner of the penalty area. Here comes City again. Antoine Semenyo lays it off to Nunez. Is the space for a delivery from the Portuguese, being taken on by Truffert, and Tavernier trying to get in the way. And the final touch comes off Rodri there, and the referee, the assistant referee on the far side, points for a goal kick. Bournemouth's blush is spared in the very early stages of this second half. Haaland created the opportunity. O'Reilly trying to get on the end of it. That's a fine reaction stop from Georgi Petrovic, and the frustration is clear on the face of the City number 33. Lightning fast start to the second half of this game that could well determine the fate of the Premier League title. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 0. It remains thus far. Only once in their history have Bournemouth managed to beat Manchester City in a competitive game. From 25 competitive matches played between the two teams, 19 of which have come in the Premier League. Bournemouth with just one win and now 18 goals. It was 17 coming in. City 22 to the good from 25. They are on the cusp of being unable to make it 26, but here goes Haaland, caught by the referees, the assistant referee's offside flag there as he tried to break away from the edge of the centre circle. Bournemouth's high line coming in handy. Erling Haaland with a shake of the head. It was flicked on towards him by Rodri, and there's just an outstretched leg of the Norwegian as he readjusts himself to drive beyond everybody in black and red, right through the heart of the Bournemouth defence that just sees him straight offside. Here come Bournemouth down the left-hand side now. Truffert running into traffic. It's Rodri who wins it back for City, albeit temporarily. Zanisi for Bournemouth to the halfway line with Tavernier left of centre. Now Krupi, the goal scorer, to Scott on the edge of the centre circle. Scott lifts it out to the right-hand side. Ryan brings it down on the corner of the box. Overlap from Smith if he wants it. Ryan tries to go alone, runs into trouble. Stood up by Bernardo Silva. Manchester City bring it under their control in the middle third. Here is Doku on the edge of the centre circle, still inside the City half. Now he tiptoes over the halfway line and lays it off to Semenyo on the right-hand side. City coming forward in numbers. Manchester City being compromised by Bournemouth in the retreat. Semenyo forced to turn and head back to the halfway line where he lays it off to Abdulkadir Khuzanov. Now it's Mateus Nunez. Now it's Kovacic on the centre circle. Lifted back out to the right-hand side for Semenyo in a bit more space. Here is Nunez. Truffert getting close. Attempted to be slipped in behind for the run of Bernardo Silva. Tracked all the way by Tyler Adams. And Bournemouth creatively play their way out of danger, but they concede a throw about halfway inside of their own half. It just about trickles out of play as the return was attempted between Adams and Tavernier. Manchester City throw-in taken relatively quickly. The ball under the control of Rodri now, who lays it off to Kovacic, looking for the ball in behind into the penalty area, looking for Haaland. Sliding challenge by Ryan on the recovery. able to divert the ball away from the big Norwegian. But his touch was the last as the ball went behind Petrovic's touchline. It'll be a Manchester City corner, the first of the second half for either of these two teams. Whatever Pep Guardiola said to his team at half-time seems to have revitalised them a little bit. And they are putting their foot down in this second half. The delivery is from Silva. It's lifted into the air before it can find Gurhi. There's a penalty area scramble now, which is eventually headed away and recovered for Manchester City by Kozanov, who attempts to lift it out to Silva, the corner taker on the left. Again, Ryan is in the way, throwing for City on the left. Silva takes it backwards. Here's Kovacic. Kovacic looking for Doku, who gets there first despite the pressure of Scott. It's Kovacic again on the halfway line, left of centre. Rodri brings Gurhi into the equation. City keeping the ball moving, and Kovacic lifts it over the top, looking for Semenyo, intercepted comfortably by Senesi, who knocks it down to Scott. Scott into the feet of Ryan, who runs out of room. Going for City on the left. 5 minutes have gone in this second half. 40 minutes left for Manchester City to save their title push. They need 2 goals. We've heard that before. Ryan, Bournemouth win it back cleanly. And there might be an opportunity for a counter now as Krupi finds Tavernier, but he couldn't take the ball in his stride. Nunez on the recovery, left of centre for Bournemouth now. They still have the opportunity to attack. It's turned and Truffert is brought into possession. Now here is Adams, and all of a sudden there's 8 City players behind the ball. Back to the halfway line now with Senesi for Bournemouth. Truffert. Active standings at the minute see Bournemouth just a point behind the top 5, all of whom will have the opportunity to play Champions League football next season. Going into the final day, it's going to be Bournemouth and Liverpool for 5th place. Who would have seen that coming at the start of the season? Liverpool, the defending champions. Bournemouth, the once on the verge of extinction club 2 decades ago. Both with the opportunity to play at Europe's top table next season, as Bournemouth again do their best to win back possession from City on the edge of their defensive third, and a cheeky knockdown with the chest of Evan Nilsson allows Krupi to play the ball to Tavernier on the left. Crossing opportunity presenting itself maybe for Bournemouth. Tavernier releases it in time. Truffert, square, Evan Nilsson at the near post. Good save, Donnarumma down to his right hand side. Vital save as well from the big Italian. Bournemouth corner, their first of the second half. Just like that, Bournemouth on the counter attack, precise and deadly, and very nearly doubling their advantage. One-touch football. Truffert looking for assist number 2. I'm not sure that the attempted strike from Evan Nilsson as he slides toward it was actually going in, but Donnarumma couldn't be sure. Corner kick to come now for the Cherries. Alex Scott over the top of it. In swinger from the left. Right-footed delivery. Bodies in the box, wearing both colours. It's Scott's delivery. It's headed away at the near post now by O'Reilly. Attempted to be recovered by Truffert. Bit of a game of head tennis before the ball drops to Kovacic, who launches it back up into the sky. It comes down with snow on it, and it's brought down by Semenyo. Here comes the City potential counter. Silva slows things down. Now Kuzanov, and he can drive forward, slipping it in behind. Here goes Haaland into the penalty area. On the right-hand side, can he cut onto his favoured left foot? He can't, but he turns and finds Nunez, who lifts it to the back post. Doku tries to tap it over the line. It's not away yet for Bournemouth. Silva going for it, and it bounces up into the air as he turns and strikes on the half volley. It was deflected into the arms of Petrovic off Adam Smith, and Bournemouth do just about enough to quell the Manchester City attack. With every single drive forward for the citizens, Arsenal hearts will be in mouths at this stage. Bournemouth are doing them a huge favour as of right now on the scoreline, but Manchester City are determined to dig deep. They will not want to give this up. They are never, ever a team to give up an opportunity to challenge for the Premier League title. Here is Nunez. Forward it goes now by the Portuguese over the halfway line to his countryman in Bernardo Silva, a man who will depart the Etihad Stadium in the summer alongside John Stones after a glittering career with the citizens. A new challenge on the horizon for both of those two players. Will they be followed out of the door by their manager? That's what all the signs are pointing to in the mainstream media, but neither the club nor the man himself have confirmed it. And it looks as though Pep Guardiola, this second half at the Vitality Stadium with just about 10 minutes played, is going to waste no time with rolling the dice for substitutions. Ryan Cherki and Savinho are 2 of 3 players that are getting readied now by the Spaniard. Looks as though we're going to see a triple substitution any moment for the Citizens. They have plenty of attacking options to choose from on the bench. Tajani Reinders is their joint third top scorer in the league this season. Phil Foden is their second top scorer in the league this season. Ryan Cherki is their highest assist maker this season. Who will Pep turn to? Lifted out to the right-hand side now for Manchester City. Brought under control by Matheus Nunes, who turns away from Ryan before being dragged down by the Brazilian. And the referee, Anthony Taylor, watching right over that incident, awards a free kick City's way, but is insistent that Nunes takes it from the proper position. No quick free kicks happening under the watchful eye of Anthony Taylor. So here come the City changes. Savinho is one, Cherki is another, and Foden is the third. Looks as though they're all going to be brought onto the field of play before this free kick is taken in their favour. And coming off in his final away game as a Manchester City player is going to be the captain, Bernardo Silva. His like for like is Ryan Cherki. And Kovacic is also going to make his way off the field. He's off for Phil Foden. So that is four attacking-minded midfielders now who are gracing the field in behind Erling Haaland. And the final change is that of Antoine Semenyo, formerly of Bournemouth, and he is greeted by a standing ovation, not just from the visiting Manchester City contingent, but also from the Bournemouth home supporters, who remember how instrumental he was in the first half of this season for the Cherries before his massive money move to City in January. £64 million in the Bournemouth coffers. Off he goes for Savinho. Free kick taken now by Manchester City on the right-hand side. Rodri trying to get into a crossing position. Truffert trying to stand him up. And between he and Tavernier, they've been able to win it back, Bournemouth. Now here is Marcus Tavernier. Trying to drive down the flank. Stood up by Savinho. I think Tavernier ran out of room in the process of trying to drag the ball away and conceded a throw, which Nunes is in a hurry to take, but Krupi is doing his best to stop him. Dry mouth for Pep Guardiola, it would seem, on the touchline. His mind must be going a million miles an hour, what you wouldn't give to be a fly on the wall on the inside of his brain as it goes through the gears. That's a hopeful smash and grab clearance for Bournemouth. He's mopped up by Mark Guehi. Rolled straight back out to Kuzanov. Now here is Rodri. Edge of the centre circle, still inside the City half. No real pressure being applied at the minute from Bournemouth. O'Reilly. Back to Guehi. Now Kuzanov. First Uzbekistan international to ever play Premier League football has been Abdulkadir Kuzanov. Nomination for Manchester City's Player of the Season alongside Jeremy Doku and Nico O'Reilly. However, Nilsson might be able to break beyond Guehi. That was an interesting battle in the first half, those two going for the loose ball. Most of the time those duels ended with Mark Guehi in pain of some sort, but Bournemouth win it back cleanly this time. Here's Tyler Adams on the left, approaching the attacking third. Waits for options, might find them in Truffert, and Tavernier can't get to the loose ball, not before being tripped over by Nico O'Reilly, who concedes possession. He slipped under his own feet. Bournemouth win it back. Here is Scott. Now Senesi and Truffert. Gets the 1-2 with Tavernier. Truffert, bit of space opening up for the delivery from the left. It's clattered straight into Abdulkadir Kuzanov. And it seems to have taken the wind out of the sails of the City number 45, who's in a crumpled mess on the floor. It'll be a throw-in for Bournemouth as a result on the left-hand side. An opportunity for the long throw, perhaps. Coming over to take it is James Hill, the defender. You know he's got that in his locker. He's proven it already in this game. Opportunity for Bournemouth to flood the box with bodies as the fans behind him roar him on. Bournemouth close in on potential Champions League football. Hill with the long throw. Haaland behind it, able to get the header half away, and can City lift their way out of danger? Savinho trying to drive down the right-hand side, just had his ankle clipped by a retreating Marcus Tavernier, and he'll do well to escape the ire of Anthony Taylor here. The referee reaching into his pocket very quickly and pointing a yellow card in his direction. I'm not sure how much the Bournemouth man knew about it. And the recovery, in fact it was Hill that stuck a leg out. Adams was also involved in that collision. Everybody going for the same ball, and it will be the English number 23 who is cautioned by Anthony Taylor. As we approach the hour mark of this game, both Tyler Adams and James Hill in the book for the referee. But the important stat is the goals, and as of right now, Bournemouth have more. It's 1-0 to the hosts, which means they are within a point of Champions League football going into the final day. And Arsenal will be champions for the first time in 22 years. That's your headline. On the precipice of the hour mark. What does City have up their sleeve? We've seen it a million times before. It's not over until it's over. They proved that in the title race in 2012 with Aguero. They proved it in 2022 with Gundogan. Can they prove it again in 2026? They might not have the opportunity to now as Truffert gets it in an attacking position. Evan Nilsson's back heel, and it was very cheeky and very creative from Krupi, who wanted goal number 2, opening up his foot from the edge of the D, unable to nestle the ball into the top corner as he did in the first half. The one-touch passing from Bournemouth when they've got forward, especially down the left-hand side, has been impeccable. It's Truffert across the edge of the box. Evan Nilsson knew where Krupi was. A very delightful back heel into his path, and he just ever so slightly miscalculates the shot at goal. City have done a dreadful job though of clearing their lines. A needlessly conceded corner by Kuzanov, looking across his penalty area for his defensive partner Gerhi, completely misplaces his pass, and Scott, who was going to get there first, decided to let it go. Bournemouth corner. Over an hour played of normal time at the Vitality. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 0. Tavernier very slowly making his way to the Bournemouth corner flag for this set-piece opportunity. They're yet to roll the dice in this game, Bournemouth. We're 2/3 of the way through. No substitutions from the hosts. 3 have been made by the visitors. Foden's on, Savinho's on, and Cherki is on. All of them yet to make an impact at this stage as Tavernier readies himself for the in-swinging left-footed delivery. It's deep. It's headed down into the ground. And did that go in? It looked like it almost did. From Ryan, he was the man that took it on from the corner of the 6-yard box. A real scramble inside of the 6-yard area. The header down was from Hill, and Ryan got in the way of his own teammate's headed chance, but turned and smashed the volley off the post. Took the paint with it there from the Brazilian. But it's the wrong side of the post from a Bournemouth point of view. Some heads in hands from the Cherries players. A good opportunity to double their advantage. Spurned in this instance. But City unable to play their way out of their own defensive third. Here's Evan Nilsson after it's won back by Ryan. Smart piece of skill 25 yards from goal. Out to the left for Tavernier. Brings Adams into play. Now Tavernier again. Now Truffert back to Tavernier. Backwards to Adams. Bournemouth with the command of the ball here that City just seem unable to keep for themselves. Every time they have it in their defensive third, they don't seem to know what to do with it. This is not the Manchester City we have been so used to over the last 10 years under Guardiola. Foden, I think this might be his first touch of the ball now as City win it back deep inside their own half. Now Rodri. And they turn defence into attack. Down the left-hand side, it's Foden who releases it to Doku. Body's getting forward now for City. Smith and Scott between them trying to stand up Jeremy Doku, who releases it to Rodri, edge of the penalty area. Rodri goes for goal, and it's high over the top of Georgi Petrovic and his crossbar. Goal kick for Bournemouth. Rodri with a bit of a miscued connection there from the 25-yard mark or so. He was a player that scored a very crucial goal for Manchester City. A goal that will live in their history. The only goal of the 2023 Champions League final when they overcame Inter Milan to win the competition for the first time. Here is Rodri again. Now back to Mark Gerhi on the halfway line. Left of centre, trying not to show too much of the ball to Evan Nilsson. Rodri. Here's Foden. Trying his best to hold off Alex Scott. The two men that may well share a dressing room come 2026's Summer World Cup over in the Americas. Here's Doku, another player who'll be going, no doubt. Delivers from deep, headed half away. Kuzanov keeps it going for City. Here's Nunez on the right. Can he make space for the cross? Savinho separated from the ball by Truffert, who does just about enough to marshal it out of play. Bournemouth goal kick. Very good defending indeed from the Frenchman. He's had a stellar game today, Adrien Truffert. He's not put a foot wrong defensively or going forward. Every single time he's put the ball across the edge of the penalty area, you think that Bournemouth have the chance to score, and that was how they got the opening goal of this game. It was Junior Krupi who got it, bending a beautiful strike from the edge of the box into the corner of the net to, as of now, put Bournemouth within touching distance of the top 5 and to put the Premier League trophy in the hands of Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. Doku chasing down a loose ball, recovers it on the corner flag, just about ran out of room, much to the shock and awe of Jeremy Doku there, convinced that he'd been able to keep it in play. Perhaps that's frustration starting to show on the face of these Manchester City players there. There's a question as whether or not that did go out, but that's not something that VAR are brought into the game to have a look at. It is worth mentioning, 20 minutes into this second half, and in fact throughout the entire game, I've not had to bring up the name of Jared Gillett, the man in charge of VAR this evening. With any luck, his input will not be necessary, as Foden is clipped from behind and concedes possession in the protest. Anthony Taylor with no sympathy for Phil Foden as he rolls around on the ground after being clipped. He gets up, and I think that was a bit of a sarcastic thumbs up from the Englishman. Throwing on the right hand side for Bournemouth, about 5 yards ahead of where their penalty area would be, and it's going to be taken by James Hill now. Long throw by the Englishman right over the halfway line. Evan Nilsson attempting to bring it down, gets it away from Gurhey, and Krupi is able to feed it out to the left. Tavernier in plenty of space. Here come Bournemouth. Bodies back for City. Tavernier tries to slip it in behind. Truffert's going to get there at the byline, and he smashes it over the top from a tight angle. Not sure what he was hoping for there, Adrian Truffert. Pulling it back would have been the smartest move on that occasion. It bounced quite invitingly, and in fact that is what he tries. He tries to pull it back, but getting in his way is Nico O'Reilly on the recovery. And it's going to be a Bournemouth corner as a result. That's why the ball is skewered away over the top of Donnarumma's goal, because it takes a nick off the Englishman on the way through. And Alex Scott will stand over the top of this set-piece opportunity. From the left-hand side, right-footed, in-swinging, Scott's cross. Headed away at the near post again by O'Reilly. That's emblematic of Bournemouth's corners so far in this game. Of the 3 that they've had, none have troubled the citizens in any major way. The header goes straight out for a throw, and perhaps this is as good as a corner can be for Bournemouth, because James Hill is going to make his way over to take another long throw into the penalty area. Backed by a capacity crowd at the Vitality. Well over 11,000 inside of this tiny ground on the south coast that is living the dream right now. Donnarumma is able to gather from the attacking opportunity following that Bournemouth throw. He will take his time with his distribution here. Drops the ball with Evan Nilsson lurking, and eventually does release it to Kuzanov on the corner of his penalty area. Now here comes City down the right hand side. It's Savinho who turns and trades passes with Nunez. Tries to take a creative touch to escape Marcus Tavernier, who did just about enough to hold on to possession, but also stuck a leg out on Savinho as he attempted to recover the ball. Anthony Taylor right on top of it. Free kick City, right of centre, on the edge of the centre circle. Rodri turns into traffic. Tyler Adams wins it back cleanly according to the referee, as he's dragged back by Rodri though. Bournemouth maintain possession. Anthony Taylor says play on, advantage to the Cherries. Here is Scott. Scott releases it in time before being clattered into by Doku. Now here is Ryan, corner of the penalty area. Takes a heavy touch, it's a deflected cross, and Donnarumma had to get down quickly. Ryan doing his best to cause problems for City there down the line. And that ball takes a nick off O'Reilly, and he's very much sneaking into Donnarumma's near corner. A good reaction save from the Italian. Another corner for Bournemouth. More defensive work to do for Manchester City. For how dominantly they started this second half, Bournemouth have grown into this game, and they are proving to be just as much of a match for the wannabe champions, the team that know they need to turn this game on its head if they want to keep their hopes alive of becoming champions again. Corner to come for Bournemouth now. Tavernier over the top of it, in swinging, left-footed. Very deep indeed, over the top of everybody. Awkward for Kuzanov. It goes away off the Uzbek, and it'll be another corner for Bournemouth, this time from the left. Howls of derision from Donnarumma, screaming at his defenders. What are they to do? Bournemouth are just matching them in almost every way at this stage. Remember, a draw is not enough for City to keep their title hopes alive, but a draw is enough for Bournemouth to secure Europa League football. Scott to take this corner, in swinging from the left, right-footed. It's deep, Donnarumma punches clear, Hill attempts to head it away, and there's a free kick awarded Manchester City's way for a foul on Gianluigi Donnarumma as he went for the ball. And it's a free kick that the Italian is in a hurry to take. His first full season in English football. 2 domestic trophies, yes, but the big one, the Premier League title, as of right now, is slipping out of his and Manchester City's grasp. Long clearance from Donnarumma. Truffert mops up for Bournemouth. Forward it goes to be knocked down by Krupi, who attempts to trade passes very creatively to escape Nunez with Tavernier, but the Portuguese is aware of the situation and he lays it off. Savinho now switches right to left and Doku brings it down. It's a good first touching and he's got the pace on Smith. Doku into the penalty area, pulls it back to the edge of the box. O'Reilly was waiting and Ryan knew the danger, smashing it out of play. City corner, 20 minutes of normal time to play, 20 minutes for City to turn this game around. Corner taken quickly by Cherki. He's done virtually nothing since his introduction. Doku tries to drive beyond Ryan, who does just about enough, and with every single defensive piece of work that is being completed by Bournemouth, there are cheers and there are applause coming from the fans behind the goal. Ryan barging Doku out of play, and a goal kick is awarded to Bournemouth. This is a position you imagine they never thought they would have found themselves in, those fans behind that goal. A draw tonight would have been enough to confirm Europa League football. Victory leaves them a point behind Liverpool in the battle for the Champions League. Had you told a Bournemouth fan that at the beginning of the season, they would have snatched your arm off. Forward from Truffert now down the line for Bournemouth, intercepted by Rodri. Rodri to O'Reilly. Crowd of Bournemouth shirts. He's able to barge his way beyond Ryan and release it to Doku. Continues his run down the line now as Doku drifts inside. Back into the path of O'Reilly. There's too much on it. And as it goes away for another Bournemouth goal kick, there's more cheers and applause behind that goal. Every single time the Manchester City attack comes to nothing, those fans rise in noise levels. Donny Iraola, it looks like he's finally going to turn to his players on the bench. Justin Kluivert is getting stripped and ready to come on. Taken 72 minutes of this game, it seems as though the Spaniard is ready to roll the dice. His opposite number, Pep Guardiola, is starting to get a little restless. Omar Marmoush is warming up. It appears that he will be brought on at a moment's notice. Rodri out to Savinho, corner of the box. Can he create something here for City? It's laid off to Nunez. Now Savinho again, into the path of Rodri, space to deliver from the right, and he takes it to the byline. Haaland is the target, Smith is in the way, and it's away by Alex Scott. Headed down towards Jeremy Doku, who's just about able to stop it going out of play. A bit of an awkward header down by Kuzanov. And all of a sudden City find themselves deep inside their own half again. It's Guehi who plays it forward. Foden driving left of centre, forced to turn. Here's Cherki, 25 yards away, left of centre. Make that 20. Now Doku, 15. Getting into the penalty area, Jeremy Doku. Ryan Cherki, space for the shot. It's a wayward one, but it deflects away. It took a nick off a player in red and black. City corner to come. Cherki in a hurry to take it. Is there going to be a substitution before that happens? Doesn't appear so. Kluivert and Marmoush are stripped and ready, but the game continues for now. Cherki will take this corner, in swinging from the left. What does City have up their sleeve? In goes a delivery. It's a scramble. Doku trying to get a hold of it. Not cleared by Scott. Might drop for Rodri. Still in the penalty area. Still doesn't drop. Rodri and Doku between them trying to get it out of their feet, and eventually Truffert is able to marshal it out of the penalty area. Evan Nilsson chests it down now on the edge of the centre circle. He's going to hold it up for long enough for reinforcements to arrive, and all of a sudden every Manchester City player apart from Haaland is behind the ball. Senesi out to the left. Tavernier still life in his legs as he gets away from Rodri. Now Truffert tries to take a touch inside of Kuzanov, who slides in and concedes the corner as a result. Round of applause again as Bournemouth pile on the pressure. Kazanov doing just about enough to see off that attacking opportunity. But time is ticking at the Vitality. Andoni Iraola as stoic as ever on the touchline. Pep Guardiola looking more and more panicked as the minutes tick on. Kluivert is ready. I don't think we're going to see his introduction still yet. He's been stripped and ready for about 5 minutes, Justin Kluivert. Scott with a delivery from the left-hand side. His corner will come in before the Dutchman is introduced. It's deep, it's over the top of everybody. It'll go for a Manchester City goal kick. Hill doing his best to climb on top of his counterparts from Manchester City, not able to climb high enough, and finally the substitutions are allowed to come on. Craig Pawson's board is being raised, and the man being removed from the field for Bournemouth will receive a standing ovation bigger than maybe any that has ever happened at the Vitality Stadium. It's Junior Krupi who will be removed for Justin Kluivert. And the man coming off to make way for Omar Mamouche is going to be Jeremy Doku. Well, it's Krupi's goal, the man who's being substituted for Bournemouth. A really smart finish, edge of the penalty area. Nestling it into the top corner for number 13 of the Premier League season for the Frenchman. And it's a goal that could put Bournemouth on course to be at Europe's top table next season. It's a goal that could completely kill off Manchester City's title hopes. It's a goal that might go down in Arsenal's history as the one that sealed the Premier League title for them for the first time in 2 decades plus. Kluivert is on, Mamouche is on for Manchester City. So that's a forward line now for the citizens of Savinho, Mamouche, Cherki, Foden and Haaland. And it might pay dividends now. Here comes City, quickly work counter-attack. Savinho attempts the delivery from the left from deep. Smith in his way. It deflects away off the Bournemouth captain. Manchester City corner. Tensions rising. Cherki quickly over to take it. They are aware of the time crunch that is upon them now, Manchester City. They don't just need 1 goal, they need 2. 13.5 minutes of normal time left. Cherki's delivery. Again, not conclusively dealt with. Helped out of the danger area by Ryan on the corner of the box. Cherki receives it again. Looks to deliver from deep. Tries not to show too much of the ball to Ryan. He is able to lift it in. It's headed out where it came from by Smith. Attempted to be brought down now by Savinho. He delivers. Foden was arriving. Rodri was there. And it's away from Bournemouth again. I think it was Hill who made the interception. That was the vital one. And it reaches Kuzanov on the edge of the centre circle. Everybody currently behind the ball for Bournemouth. Everybody in front of it for City. Down the right-hand side they come. It's Mamouche. Now Cherki. He turns and plays it back to Nunez, who can't bring it under his control in a very appealing manner. But he keeps possession with Bournemouth having many bodies back. Nobody to close him down. Now Cherki on the right, able to deliver, diving header away. Senesi made his mind up very early there that he was going to head that one out. A lot of work to do. Here is Mamouche. Plays in Gerhi, left of centre, 30 yards. Further out to the wing for Savinho, who's come across from the right-hand side. Savinho delivers now on his favoured left foot. It's up into the air as Mamouche went for the header. It's a scramble, and Petrovic at the second attempt is able to get both hands on it. That was scary for Bournemouth. Good delivery from Savinho. Combination of Foden, Mamouche and O'Reilly all going for the loose ball. Petrovic with his eye on it, never let it leave his sight. And after he dropped the first one, he was able to catch the second. And Bournemouth do get their lines clear for now. Forward down the flank for City. Savinho goes over very theatrically after a push in the back from Smith, just inside the City half. Anthony Taylor awards a free kick. Pep Guardiola pacing on the touchline. Andoni Iraola is the coolest man in the Vitality Stadium right now. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 0, in a game that could determine how the Premier League title is decided this season. As of right now, the ribbons are red, officially. Forward down the line for City. It's Savinho who gets a bit of a lucky bounce. He's able to square it. Hill is in the way. It was O'Reilly arriving. He's barely left the Bournemouth penalty area every single time City have gone forward. The man who is listed on the team sheet as a left back has been a at the forefront of their attacking opportunities. Bit of a miscontrolled ball into the feet of Nunez allows Tavernier to win it back, and it's released now by Evan Nilsson to Ryan. Back to Alex Scott. Scott to Hill. Hill out to the left-hand side for Truffert. Bournemouth slow things down as we tick towards the 80th minute of this game. What a performance this has been from Bournemouth. 15 unbeaten coming into this all-important clash. Manchester City 10 unbeaten in all competitions. Their last defeat was against Real Madrid in the Champions League. Bournemouth wasn't even in 90 minutes. That was against Newcastle on penalties in the FA Cup. For Bournemouth, their last Premier League defeat, you'd have to go back to the 3rd day of the year, the 3rd of January, when they were beaten 3-2 by Arsenal at the Emirates. For Manchester City, all the way back to January 17th, a 2-0 defeat in the Manchester derby at Old Trafford. Bournemouth in possession in the City half. One-touch passes between Evan Nilsson and Scott, as well as the relatively newly introduced Kluivert, the only substitution at this stage that Bournemouth have made. Here's Truffert on the left-hand side after Bournemouth were temporarily forced back. Senesi, ball forward down the left to be chased by Kluivert, who's got fresh legs. Kuzanov trying to do just about enough to hold him off, and I think the final touch was off Kluivert there. Goal kick awarded City's way, taken quickly by Donnarumma. Here's Foden, deep inside his own half. He seems to have inherited the Bernardo Silva role as makeshift defensive midfielder whenever City aren't going forward. Here is Sabinho, looking to drift in from the left, tries to feed it into the path of Foden, who continued his run unmarked. Whether or not he was offside was out of the question when the interception was made. Shirt pull by Rodri on Ryan. Free kick awarded Bournemouth's way. Everybody in the Vitality saw that one, despite the complaints of the City number 16. Every single decision that goes Bournemouth's way is greeted by cheers from 90% of the Vitality Stadium. It's that corner wearing sky blue that are holding their heads in their hands. They were hoping to put the pressure back on Arsenal going into the final day with maximum points here. But Bournemouth didn't read the script. And they are 8 minutes from going into the final day of the Premier League season, a point behind the Champions League positions. Scott. Adams sliding into reach it ahead of Haaland. Now here is Truffert on the left-hand side, just about inside the Bournemouth half. Senesi. Tavernier holds it up well with about 3 City players trying to bundle into him from behind. It's played out to the right now for Smith, still inside the Bournemouth half of the pitch. Ryan very nearly caught in possession by O'Reilly. It deflects into the path of Rodri. He chests it down for Guehi. And City have it back, and they can try again, and they're going to keep knocking because they don't know what else to do. Foden able to scramble it forward into the feet of Marmoush, who is tripped, and Anthony Taylor very quick on the whistle. Free kick awarded City's way, 45 yards from goal, very central. Opportunity perhaps to get bodies forward. Looks as though they're not going to take the quick free kick here. Phil Foden standing over the top of this. Left-footed delivery to be teased to the edge of the Bournemouth penalty area, or perhaps to be deceptively played low into the feet of one of his closer teammates. But just before anything happens, Bournemouth are going to make their second substitution of the evening. Ryan is making his way off the field, and it doesn't matter what his contribution has been in this game, he's receiving a standing ovation regardless. Unable to register a goal contribution, but he's been crucial in recent weeks, Ryan, to Bournemouth's surge towards the Champions League places. Scored against Fulham, the only goal of that game, most recently against Palace and Leeds as well, in games where they avoided defeat. He is replaced by the Welshman David Brooks with 6 minutes of normal time to play. Foden with this free kick now from deep, left of centre for City, over the top of everybody. I'm not sure if it took a touch off Kuzanov on its way through. Anthony Taylor points for a Bournemouth goal kick. That's another Manchester City attack dealt with by the Cherries. We are getting closer and closer to the decisive moments of this match. It's going to be a Bournemouth goal kick that they are going to be more than happy to take as much time as the referee will allow. Expressions on the face of Erling Haaland, who's, I'm not even sure, touched the ball in this second half of the game, as well as Pep Guardiola on the touchline, marching up and down. Well, there was a little bit of a celebrity appearance in the away end at the Vitality Stadium. Seems as though Noel Gallagher has had enough. With 5 minutes of normal time to play, he's making his way down the steps. That's either into the tunnel and potentially to speak to the team after full time, or maybe he wants to avoid the rush. Manchester City going for a Premier League title. Surely rule number one is you do not stop watching until the full-time whistle goes, because if you do, you will miss something spectacular. But they're running out of time for something spectacular now. Foden with a long ball forward, hopeful for Haaland. Chasing it down is Smith, and he's able to get a header that will reach Georgi Petrovic now in between the sticks. Every single ball Manchester City have played Manchester City have played forward, Bournemouth have had a man over. Challenge made now unfairly on Justin Kluivert, just inside of the Bournemouth half of the pitch. And here comes the staple moment of any game where your team is leading 1-0, where the captain Adam Smith has all of a sudden developed cramp in his left quad, it would seem. Anthony Taylor disinterested in holding up the game for any longer than he needs to. Bournemouth free kick taken, and after a brief foray forward towards the edge of the attacking third, they are forced backwards by the shape of Manchester City, right the way back to Georgi Petrovic, who sends it long. It's nodded down by Rodri. It's now shepherded all the way back to Donnarumma in between the sticks for Manchester City. 3.5 minutes of normal time at the end of this game to go. 3.5 minutes plus stoppages that separate Bournemouth from closing the gap on the Champions League places going into the final day to a point. 3.5 minutes plus stoppages before Arsenal might be confirmed Premier League champions for the first time in 22 years. Brooks lifts it to Evan-Nilsson. Touch to get away from O'Reilly results in a free kick. O'Reilly a bit too heavy-handed with Evan-Nilsson there, trying to maintain possession for Manchester City. It's another decision Bournemouth's way. Another one greeted by cheers inside of the Vitality Stadium. Free kick to be taken by Alex Scott, right of centre, 10 yards back from the halfway line for Bournemouth. Looking over the top of everybody for the fresh legs of David Brooks. Nico O'Reilly in the way, but all he can do is head it out for a throw. Wonder if Brooks is going to leave this to James Hill. Potentially before anything else happens, though, we're going to see Lewis Cook brought onto the field. Oh, I stand corrected. The throw-in is taken, and it's taken relatively quickly by Smith. Not going to flood the box with bodies on that occasion, Bournemouth. They might not feel the need to at this stage of the game. Out to the left-hand side, Tavernier. That's an excellent touch with his chest. Across the penalty area, Brooks! Spilled by Donnarumma, but held at the second attempt. Almost a gift opportunity there for David Brooks. A deflected pass from Tavernier found its way into the box and reached the Welshman in the freedom of the Vitality on the precipice of the penalty area. Evan-Nilsson from range, just wide. Well, the Bournemouth attack is quelled now, but that came from nothing there. David Brooks on his favoured left foot should have done better. He scruffed it as the deflected pass found its way into his path. Donnarumma was able to get everything behind it. And as City scrambled to clear, the ball fell for Evan-Nilsson on the edge of the box. He tried to bend it into the far corner, but couldn't quite sneak it inside the post. Donnarumma at full stretch, just seeing it wide. And that will be Evan-Nilsson's last contribution to the game, it would seem. 2 substitutions ready for Bournemouth. One of them is Lewis Cook, the other is Enes Unal. And he will be the like-for-like for the Brazilian. That's a man who has managed 6 goals this season to make him their joint second top scorer in the league. And Also being brought off the field and giving Lewis Cook the armband is Adam Smith, to a hero's standing ovation from everybody inside of the Vitality, or at least from anybody not wearing a Manchester City shirt inside of the Vitality Stadium. Cook takes the armband, 30 seconds of normal time. Manchester City getting desperate. Bit of head tennis now. Senesi with the knockdown. Unal holds it up for long enough and releases Brooks. Brooks is one-on-one with Donnarumma. David Brooks hits the post. Goodness gracious me, that was it. And Brooks goes for the recovery now, battling away with Savinho. Flips under his own feet there and concedes possession. That was the moment for the Welshman. He could have sealed the win for Bournemouth. He could have sealed the title for Arsenal. Hearts in mouths on the south coast and in North London. 90 minutes on the clock. How many added on, Craig Pawson? Savinho with a crossing opportunity from the left. Blasted into Lewis Cook. Corner for City. 6 additional minutes. It's not over yet. Don't you dare tune out. That could well have been it. Brooks released, one-on-one with Donnarumma. Sent it past him. And very nearly split the post in twain. Cheers from the majority inside of the Vitality Stadium. Gasps on the face of those Manchester City fans who have been spared in a very dramatic fashion there. Well, I believe the next event of this game is going to be a Manchester City corner, but I might stand corrected. It looked like Savinho's delivery deflected away off of Cook and took a final touch off the Englishman. But I believe I'm about to be corrected on that front, as Bournemouth take their time with what the next set piece of this game will be. I'm not 100% sure what the delay is to do with. Eventually the goal kick is taken there. I think that was definitely longer than 6 seconds, but I imagine Anthony Taylor has his reasons. Well, that's 90 seconds of the additional 6 minutes at the end of this game. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 0. Arsenal are champions as it stands. Flicked on by Enes Unal. Nobody to chase it down. He was offside anyway. Free kick awarded to City. About 10 yards back from the edge of their centre circle. Donnarumma in a very keen rush to take it. Unal tripping up Kuzanov, and Rodri and Unal now battling away with one another. It's actually Kluivert, excuse me, not Unal. And all of a sudden this is getting messy. The yellow card's out for Anthony Taylor. I'm not sure who it's going to be awarded to. Kuzanov and Scott are having crosswords with one another. It's all starting to break down now. Both teams realising the gravity of this game. Rodri and Kluivert battling away with one another for the loose ball. Kluivert pinched it back. Rodri wasn't happy with the way that he did it. Anthony Taylor was, it seemed. But the aftermath results in a yellow card being issued, I believe, to both men. It almost certainly was a foul by Kluivert, but then Rodri, I think as he tries to get up, is grabbed hold of by the Dutchman, and then there's just a lot of pushing and shoving in the aftermath. Well, there was definitely a yellow card awarded. I'm not 100% sure who to at the minute, but here comes City. O'Reilly bundled over, free kick on the edge of the box. Right on the edge of the box here. This is a brilliant free kick opportunity for Manchester City. Left of centre, on the 18-yard line this is. Handful of shouts from the away end that was inside the penalty area. Game of head tennis to deal with the City free kick. It's a very theatrical tumble. It's Rodri again who goes down, and it's Rodri and Kluivert again, battling with one another. Well, this might be a chance for Manchester City to level the score. A free kick in a very promising position. Kluivert is booked, I'll say that much. He's definitely a man that was issued a yellow following that scramble with Rodri a moment ago. But to deal with this set-piece opportunity, Cherki is one option. He's got the left foot, Marmoush the right. This might be last chance saloon for Pep Guardiola. A 5-man wall for Bournemouth with a draft excluder. There's confirmation that Rodri was also booked for his part in the Kluivert melee. Now let's see what Marmoush or Cherki have. It's going to be Marmoush. It's straight into the wall, and it's not able to be pounced upon by Foden. Cherki tries to keep it going. He's tripped fairly, according to Anthony Taylor. Here comes the Bournemouth counter. Justin Kluivert down the left. He's got Truffert ahead of him, and he runs into traffic. Well won back by Foden. Good defensive nous. 2 minutes of the additional 6 to play. If City can't score twice in these dying embers, Arsenal are champions. Bournemouth appear to have done enough to put the trophy in the hands of Mikel Arteta. Have they done enough to put themselves within a point of the Champions League going into the final day? Haaland with a header into the air, inside the box, Foden going for it, acrobatic clearance, volleyed off the post for City. Haaland, it's in off the post. City have a goal. 90 seconds of the additional 6 to play. Who else but Erling Haaland? 27 for the season for the Norwegian. Is there life in Manchester City after all? Surely not. But maybe, just maybe, you never write them off. Haaland lifting it into the air, Foden going for it, unable to clear their lines. Rodri hits the post, and Haaland on the recovery, left-footed, rattles it in off the woodwork. It's a really clever finish from Erling Haaland. I'm not sure how intentional it is. He looks like he just tries to put his foot through it, and it's smashed in off Georgi Petrovic's left-hand post. Well, Bournemouth will get the kick-off here, and they will have to keep the ball if they want a point, if they want to confirm Europa League football. It's a goal that will dampen the spirits, but will it be enough to save City's title challenge? Marmoush flattered into. City free kick here on the right-hand side. Yellow card awarded in the direction of Truffert. Surely not. Surely not, right? Can they do it again? They've done it so many times before. Free kick for Manchester City. Delivered from deep by Marmoush. Up into the air off a Bournemouth head. Who's it going to drop for? It's away by Tavernier. All eyes on Anthony Taylor now. 96 on the clock of the additional 6 at the end of this game. Does City have one more chance? Savinho takes a good touch, gets away from Cook. Crossing position here. Savinho to deliver. It's scrambled. And it's going to be bundled away. Lewis Cook down the right-hand side. Switches from right to left. Brought down by Kluivert on the halfway line. Bodies forward for Bournemouth. It's intercepted and won back by Nunez. Back to Donnarumma. And the full-time whistle goes! Arsenal are champions! Arsenal are champions! Pep Guardiola furious with Craig Pawson. City ran Bournemouth close, but they couldn't do enough on the night. Bournemouth have held on right to the end, despite a very late goal from Erling Haaland. That goal in the closing stages of the first half from Junior Karupi will be remembered in the red half of North London for years to come. And with this draw, Bournemouth have also confirmed their place at the very least in the Europa League next season. This once tiny club from the south coast, in this tiny stadium, a capacity of less than 12,000 people. This will play host to some of Europe's heaviest hitters in the Europa League at least. They've still got the final day to maybe catch Liverpool. It's an incredible achievement for Andoni Iraola and his players, and it's one that they will see the Spaniard depart the club in the summer as a legend. For his countrymen, for Mikel Arteta, the student has finally become the master. The 7-year odyssey is complete. For Arsenal as a club, the 22-year wait is finally over. They are champions of England for the 14th time in their history, and for the first time since the vaunted Invincibles. If this is it for Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, it's not the fairy tale ending that he would have hoped for. If he is going to leave and be replaced by Enzo Maresca, as the majority of headlines say, then I'm sure he can console himself with the 20 other trophies that he has won as Manchester City manager. The final day of the season, Arsenal will have a parade at Crystal Palace. Manchester City will have their day at the Etihad. Pep Guardiola might have his day at the Etihad on Sunday. But this day is Bournemouth's day, and this day is Arsenal's day. It's full time at the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth 1, Manchester City 1. Arsenal are champions. Thank you very much for tuning into this live audio coverage. It has been an honour to bring it to you, and I hope you've enjoyed tuning in. I've been Jay Cooper, and we will see you very soon for some more live football action. Goodbye for now.